Situated on the eastern edge of the Baltic Sea, Lithuania is one of 3 countries that make up the Baltic states. Many people have referred to the country as being Eastern Europe, but anyone who dares to say this in the comments section of a Lithuania-focused YouTube channel quickly learns that many Lithuanians are eager to dispute this. So, is Lithuania actually in Eastern Europe? And if not, then what part of Europe is it? And also, why do people get so defensive about being labeled as Eastern European? Well, let's explore this topic in today's video. So, according to a document published by the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, Lithuania is classified as being in the region of Northern Europe. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Obviously, I'm just joking. There's clearly much more to the story. Andreas Moser, writing an article for Medium.com, recalls moving to Lithuania from Germany and mentioning his interest in Eastern Europe to Lithuanians. In the article, he writes, "Whenever I mentioned this to Lithuanians, they were visibly insulted and corrected me that I am not in Eastern, but in Central or Northern Europe." Moser goes on to insist in his article that Lithuania is geographically Eastern Europe. He adds that its history, politics, language, and even time zone are all indicative of being Eastern European. He also adds that Lithuania is included in the Eastern Europe guidebooks of most publishers. So I'm not going to go through all of his claims right away, but I'll mention them later and also link to his piece in the description for you to check out. But first, when it comes to physical geography and defining Lithuania's place on the continent, the key question should be, well, what physically defines Europe? This is a huge topic of debate and something that continues to be contested. Indeed, Europe isn't a continent as easily definable as, say, Africa or
South America. It's like America, but south.
Some would argue that Europe is a subcontinent of the greater Eurasian continent. Others would say that Europe's eastern edge, where it meets Asia, is located at the Ural and Caucasus Mountains, which could be seen by some as being an arbitrary and inconsistent definer when compared to any clear-cut definition of the term continent. Perhaps if we could pinpoint a geographical center of Europe, maybe that would solve the debate? Well, as you might already know, the geographical midpoint of Europe is another hotly contested claim. According to Wikipedia, there are currently 6 locations that each claim to be the center of Europe. At the same time, Condé Nast Traveler says that there are 8 countries. These include places in Slovakia, Ukraine, Hungary, Belarus, and you guessed it, Lithuania. The more surprising claim comes from Estonia, which I guess could be considered depending on which northern islands are included. But without going through all of them one by one, it would seem that most of these claims either put Lithuania close to the center of Europe, if not north or northeast of it. Looking at the Lithuanian claim though, this apparently comes from the 1989 decision by the National Geographic Institute of France. The finding came from a study led by Jean-Georges Affoldet, which stated that the center of Europe was the village of Purnuškes, just north of Vilnius. This announcement, as Condé Nast Traveler notes, led to much excitement in Lithuania, which at the time was in the process of declaring its independence from Soviet rule. Today, if you head over to Purnuškes, you'll find a monument and the Geographical Center of Europe complex. Here, you can get a certificate declaring that you've reached the continent's center point. So, if we go by this one claim, then Lithuania is definitively Central Europe. But in reality, what is and isn't Eastern Europe seems to be more than a matter of just physical geography and location. If we go back to our friend Andreas Moser, he argues that Lithuania should be categorized as Eastern Europe for the following reasons. First, he says that, quote, "Any country that was a part of the Soviet Union or the Warsaw Pact will always remain Eastern Europe." He says that Lithuania is within the Eastern European time zone, which is 1 hour ahead of the Central European time zone. And third, he says that the Lithuanian language's use of che, she, and je is definitely Eastern European, whereas Central Europe is defined by
ä, ö, and u.
While Western Europe is linguistically characterized by
A, E. O accent circumflex, it's pronounced as a soft O.
These are his words, not mine. I can just hear furious Lithuanians typing away in the comment section at the moment, and I would actually love to read all the comments regarding these claims, especially since I'm not going to be challenging or supporting these claims one by one. But just going purely from the information we've examined thus far, it's quite clear that whether Lithuania is in one part of Europe or another will depend on whether you're asking from the lens of physical geography or from one of culture and politics. And if we can't even agree on a physical center, then I think defining things based on culture and politics will be 100 times harder. I don't know whether I'm taking the safe way out or just being a coward, but I'm not going to provide a definitive ruling on Lithuania's status myself, as being Central European, Northern European, or Eastern European. Sorry. But what I find the most interesting about this whole debate is just how so many countries don't want to be called Eastern European. From the Czech Republic to Poland and up to the Baltics, many people living in these parts are quite adamant about not being Eastern Europe. It doesn't matter if they're called Western, Northern, or Central, or even Southern, as long as it's not Eastern. Someone named Michael on Quora puts it like this. If you were to believe everyone you talk to, you would conclude that Eastern Europe just doesn't exist. When pressed, Eastern Europeans admit that Eastern Europe exists, but they all believe that the region starts just east of whatever country they happen to live in. It's just a matter of geography, isn't it? What's the big deal? Well, it's definitely a lot more than just a direction on a compass. You see, the term Eastern European has a lot of baggage tied to it, and simply put, it's just associated with so much bad stuff. I believe that when people hear the term Eastern European, their mind goes to Russia, or more specifically, the Soviet Union, and everything that came with it. Communism, poverty, strict government control, and scarcity. Naturally, no country wants to be associated with this, especially the countries that have fought so hard to break away from the Soviet Union. And this is why you'll never want to tell a Lithuanian that their country is in Eastern Europe, or worse, that they're Eastern European. Ultimately, if anyone asks me where in Europe Lithuania is located, I am personally quite happy just to say that Lithuania is in the Baltics, just northeast from Poland, and just leave it at that. But I'll conclude the video by quoting Michael from Quora once more, since he just puts it so well. It's a highly charged and emotional topic that sparks endless and explosive debates. If you want to make Eastern Europeans twitch and squirm, just tell them that they are from Eastern Europe. The only people who don't seem to care are the Moldovans. They're just happy that anyone knows that Moldova exists. And so, if you haven't furiously posted your own comment already, I'd love to hear from you on this. Is there anything that was missed in the video, and is there anything you disagree with? Let me know. Again, my special thanks to those who signed up as members of the channel, with a special shout out to one Vilcus level member. You know who you are. Thanks to all of you for watching, and I'll see you next time.